a martial arts movie podcast.
I threw that shit before I walked in the room.
Featuring drunken Thai boxer, Will.
Too bad you will die.
The also drunken wrestler, Mark.
I said I don't want trouble.
And drunken karate master, Zero.
You've lost your balls.
And now,
Talk. I know Kung Fu.
You know, baby.
Fists of Fail.
Alright, it's a spooky season again. Every year I have to do that intro. It's spooky season.
Halloween.
It's Halloween. Woo, Blade. Oh, Wesley Snipes. Oh, tax evasion. Oh, scary things.
Very scary.
All right. Yeah. Wow. How long have we been doing the show?
7 years.
7 years. 7 years. Yeah, and we've never covered Blade.
Well, there is kind of a reason for that.
Why?
The first movie, while it is often touted as a very great comic book adaptation and also a martial arts / action film, I would say for our format, the martial arts is a little lacking, especially because it's an American production from 1998. It's pretty good in how it interweaves martial arts into the action, but in terms of the complexity of the choreography, it's very, very simple. And I don't know if we could just break down that movie. So we decided to talk about all 3 Blade movies. Wow! Ooh.
I'm terrified. Oh, I'm so startled. Yeah, all three movies. And
Oh, God,
my
it's gonna
God,
go so
this is-
long.
yeah, I know. And imagine how much time we spent looking up all the info on the movies and watching these movies again. Mind you, it was very fun to revisit the first 2 movies. It was, and I'm saying the first 2 for a reason. Blade Trinity is the black sheep of the franchise, and it is very hard to sit through. But we did it because we love you guys, and we were doing this episode for you. But yeah, to go back to what you said, yeah, I think the same way. Blade it by itself might have just ended up being a quick jab episode for us had it not been for us deciding to cover the whole franchise. Well, not franchise. Blade is still a franchise that's ongoing now. Now that they're announced a new Blade TV show. Whatever. Blade is right. Isn't there like Marvel's continuing their own thing?
I mean,
I
as a
don't
video
know.
game, they've been trying to get the remake off the ground, and they have silently taken it off their schedule because I think
Maybe
they
that's
can-
what it is.
they can't get the director and actor to all align and into something good, apparently.
Yeah, but just like Wesley Snipes says, there's only one not Deadpool. There's only one Blade. Mixing my comic book characters up. There's only one Blade. The original trilogy. That's the only Blade that I know of. I mean, if there's nothing we need to talk about with the source material at all. I mean, I didn't know anything about the comics. I know that Blade is very different from like what you saw in the source material. So yeah, it's like I feel like the whole franchise, especially the first movie, took a lot of liberties. Like, even though like there is a titular character that they were going off of, it's like I felt like it took a lot and just kind of ran with it. And yeah, it's crazy how much the first movie, and we're just jumping right into the first movie, was able to just have like so much like iconicness, is that a word? Iconic imagery. A lot of
Yeah.
things that just kind of stuck with me. And I feel like a lot of people just kind of forgot about Blade altogether. But every time I
think
go
so?
back and I don't know. It's just like
I
I
don't
feel
think
like
so. I feel like that movie paired with the second movie definitely left a lasting legacy, especially because of the iconic imagery of the first movie and how well it was received, considering that people didn't really have a lot of faith in comic book movies. And this was an R-rated
Yeah.
horror action film, something that I don't think any comic book person was really thinking would ever get released. So
Yeah.
this got put out there, and I believe it just surprised everybody.
Yeah, it did really well in the box office. The first two movies, not so much the third. Everything about the third is just um, yeah. So yeah, everything you said is true. The fact that it's a comic book movie does not detract from it at all. It really is, it does stand on its own. It has a very unique story. I mean, I could basically sum up all three movies in one, right? Every one of them boils down to the Blade is a daywalker. He is a vampire slash he's a half human, half vampire. He has all the quote unquote strengths, but none of the weaknesses of a vampire. So he can walk around in the daylight and not be affected by the sun, right?
Yeah.
Unlike a regular vampire. Um, and every movie is about regular vampires wanting to become like him. It's literally the premise of every movie. What, like, one roundabout way or another, it's like everyone just wants to be Blade. So at the end of the day, everyone wants to be cool like the black guy, because that's what these are. Yeah, the first movie's, it has more than just the simple story, but it's very effective and very straight to the point. The style, I think, is something that, like, I still to this day, like, really, like, admire about the movie, because this is late 90s, right before the Matrix, and I think that's why
Yeah.
everyone compares this to, right? Like, they say that this is like the pseudo prototype for the Matrix's
You can
visual
definitely see that.
aesthetic.
Mhm.
Yeah, but, like, they did say that the Matrix was in the making for a lot longer, but the fact that Blade came out just before, it's like,
Mhm.
all right, I'm pretty sure you can say that Blade definitively, like, defined that look, right? Wesley Snipes' full leather outfit.
Well, he's got the
And
long trench coat, the
yeah,
sunglasses, dual wielding the pistols, is also an
yeah,
expert in martial arts.
yeah.
We have the techno soundtrack,
Hmm.
and we have the interesting use of CGI at the time.
Hmm.
Not too over the top in the first movie, though.
Really? You don't think it's over the top? I think it's kind of goofy at times.
No. The second movie is where the CGI gets a little too goofy with the
Hmm.
fighting. But the second, I would say the first movie, it it makes sense for what they need to use the CGI for. You have the
Okay. Hmm.
when the vampires are killed, they burst into flames, they become ash, they become dust and embers. It's the most dated out of the three.
Dated.
Yeah, unfortunately, because you can't really go back and fix that, but it's fine. It
Hmm.
works within the look of the movie still. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing, right? As a franchise goes on, and I mean, by the time, like, Trinity came out, like, they start to refine some of the CG, some of the visual effects. Still not great. By then, it's like mid 2000s, so it's starting to improve a little bit. But, like, that doesn't mean that makes a good movie, right?
exactly, yeah.
Yeah. But the first movie, yeah, it's. I think the style is something that, like, it's not just the visual aesthetics and the music and such. Like, it's just also, like, the tone of the movie, right? It's very dour. It really gets that hard R rating.
It
Like,
takes
yeah,
itself
well
pretty
earned.
seriously. It
Yeah.
you would I didn't even know it was a comic book movie. It doesn't feel pulpy or hokey in any
Hmm.
way. It is very much an R-rated action film that just happens to be based off of a comic book character.
Yeah, right. The fact that our main character, he's fighting this one. He's kind of like fighting a one man battle war against
No,
all of vampire.
he's got some help. We got
Well,
yeah, we
yeah.
got the supporting cast who returns for all three movies. It's Chris Christopherson who plays Whistler.
Hmm.
That's Blade's mentor, his
Whistler,
weaponsmith, and then also like basically
father
a father
figure.
figure, pretty
Yeah,
much. Yeah.
yeah. Their relationship, their rapport is very tacitly understood. That, like, they respect each other. They but they won't say it, right? Like, very overly macho in a way. It's, like, but at the same time, it's like you get it. It's like, it's just the kind of world that the kind of characters that we've written for these guys, and, like, you kind of respect it. And then the third movie just kind of, like, throws that out there, and it's like they just straight up like just say,
Stop going to the third movie.
what? Okay, wait. Oh wait, because we're talking about the first movie,
The
right?
first movie.
All
Yeah.
right. Sorry, I can't help it because Blade Trinity is just like a blotch in my mind. All right, the original Blade. No, I do think that the story is like very straightforward, right? Like I don't really love Steven Dorff, who plays our villain. Like but he gets the job done, right? Like he plays what's the character's name? Frost?
Deacon Frost. Yep.
Deacon Frost, yeah. I was gonna say Duncan Frost. Deacon Frost. He's not the most memorable villain, but his motives are very straightforward. He's he kind of just gets the job done. I feel like out of the three movies, he's probably the most interesting character. And
Yeah, probably the more interesting villain. Basically, there is a vampire hierarchy.
Mhm.
He is still kind of at the top, but he's going against tradition. Basically, because he's like the younger vampire, and also he's not a natural born vampire. The plot is Steven Dorff wants to resurrect a blood god, and the key to doing this in is using Wesley Snipes' blood, as well as using all the members of this vampire society and getting them all together, and then shit happens at the end. Pretty simple
yeah,
enough, and then there's like lots of twists and turns along the way.
yeah. That's interesting about this movie is that uh it gives the villain enough of a, I wouldn't say he's an empathetic character. He's not, but he's more he's not one dimensional, right? He's given the backstory that he's a half vampire, or like he was turned, right? Versus like there's the pure bloods, the vampires who were born that way. It's like, what does that mean? How are you born a vampire? I don't understand what that means. But yeah, so like there's like a little bit like like infighting between the vampires themselves.
Well,
And
yeah,
then
there's a generational conflict because what happens is in the opening of the movie, a very, very iconic opening
Mhm,
where we first see Blade in a blood rave. And
mhm.
these raves are being thrown by Deacon Frost. And the idea is
Oh man.
the elder vampires actually want to try to remain a little more anonymous and low key. Deacon Frost wants to embrace vampirism. He wants to have the humans be bowing to him.
Hmm.
Exactly. They want to be the top of the food chain. Him
Yeah,
as the younger, newer vampire is coming in with all these ideas, and then the older folks don't want to have anything to do with it.
yeah.
And so there's infighting there in addition to Wesley Snipes and then Chris Christopherson hunting all the vampires down, and Steven Dorff is the main antagonist.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned the rave scene. It's how the movie starts, and this is our perfect segue to talk about the action because, man, that is one of the greatest intros in any movie, in any action movie,
Oh
right?
yeah, it's
It's
fucking
beautiful to look
iconic.
at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine
Uh,
going
mhm,
into this movie like you know about vampire lore. I think the general public knows about vampire lore. You understand they need to drink blood in order to survive, to live, and that is their food source. Now
mhm.
imagine going to this movie, you're like, "Oh, cool, it's a rave." And then you see blood emitting from the sprinklers
Oh, it's
and just
great.
dousing all the dancers, all the club goers,
Mhm,
and then you realize that the one male character that we've been following, he's not a vampire. He's
mhm.
a human and he's stuck there and he is fucked. And then Blade comes in and everyone and the mood it's funny because the mood goes from very horrific and very scary because this one singular man is not where he should be. And then Blade comes in and you could see everyone's like, "Oh shit, who is that?" And like it's a great way to introduce a character, to
Yeah.
explain his dynamic to the audience, how the enemies feel about him, like his
Yep.
power level, his aura level. It's like it's just like a perfect example of like how to introduce a character.
Yeah. That intro is just absolutely perfect, and like I feel like the other movies just don't capture that like perfect intro that this movie does, right?
Yeah.
It's just down to the wire, like down to every little detail, and then immediately erupts into a gunfight. And we'll talk about all this later on in the action segment. But like it's like in terms of the action, it's late '90s American movie. I will say it's above the grade above its contemporaries in American action, right? Wesley Snipes being a martial artist, who's also an actor that we have barely ever covered on our show ever, but I've always wanted to cover him because I know he has the pedigree, he has the
Same.
ability.
I have always wanted to cover him. I feel like he doesn't do strictly martial arts movies. He's just been in a lot of dramatic roles and action roles, but Blade was mixing in martial arts into the action
Hmm. Yep.
and doing it correctly, because like I think the tone of this movie is like pretty serious. I think if they put a little too much martial arts action in here, it like people might have pulled away.
Yeah, I think the audience's gauge at the time was like still not fully embracing martial arts, right? Like this is the same year that Rush Hour came out,
Mhm.
right? Speaking of which, Wesley Snipes turned down the role of Carter in Rush Hour to do
Oh
this.
yeah.
Can you imagine him doing
Imagine they
Rush Hour?
swapped like
Yeah,
this
Chris Tucker.
Blade was Chris Tucker and Wesley
Oh man.
Snipes was acting alongside Jackie Chan. Oh man. Oh
What are you
man, what a
talking about,
world.
Whistler? um, yeah, no, it's funny. I don't want to talk too much about like casting alternatives, right? In another universe, but Jet Li was offered the role of Deacon Frost apparently, but did Lethal Weapon 4 instead. Thought that would have been interesting because then we'd have Wesley Snipes going against another martial artist. That would have been cool.
That could have
But
been cool, but
yeah, no.
yeah, Jet Li. There's too much dialogue for Stephen Dorff in
Yeah,
this movie. It would have been
yeah.
way too much for Jet Li at the time,
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly. And then I don't know if you noticed, Gerald Akamora is a vampire in this movie.
He's a vampire.
Yeah, it's so weird. I'm like, he has no lines of dialogue, and he's not in the credits. He's not listed as a fight choreographer.
No,
So
it's
I'm like,
so fight. I think the fight choreographer
it's
coordinator is Jeff Amata,
mhm,
and
yeah,
then you can see
and also
like
Wesley Snipes.
and Wesley Snipes, and then you see
Mhm,
like I think the Ree brothers are in there
mhm.
as
Oh yeah,
well.
that's right.
You can
Yeah.
see you can
Well,
spot
no,
them in some
I
scenes.
don't know if they were choreographing, but they were in the movie.
No, that's what I mean. They're in the movie.
Yeah.
No,
Mhm.
Jeff Amata is the stunt coordinator or fight choreographer.
Yeah. So I saw that too. I was like, why is Gerald Akamora in this? I was like, is he doing is something Samurai Cop? I don't know. Yeah, but going back to the action, it's commendable for what it was. And so here's something that I kind of realized as I was rewatching this. Uh I kind of regret not covering this franchise a little earlier, if even just the first movie by itself, because the action's not great if we talk about comparing it to some of the other movies we've watched and things that we prefer. But when we look back on what it was for the time being, actually there's some really good highlights there. I actually forgot that there's really good choreography in the first movie, and even in parts of the second one. It's not long, but they're there.
I
It's
think
like glimmers.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the problem with why we never covered it, is because, as I mentioned earlier, the movie interweaves martial arts into the action, but it's a little more action heavy. And anytime you have fight scenes, they don't last long, like you
Yeah.
mentioned. There's like
Mhm.
there's a few instances where there's an exchange of hands, there's a little bit of choreography, but then it's done because they have to break out into like gunfire and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Because his main weapon is the blade on his
Mhm.
back. It's the sword, but he is heavily using firearms as well. So,
Mhm.
like in the opening blood rave scene, it's a great combination of weapons combat as he's shooting all the vampires, and then interweaving some hand to hand stuff in between, going
Yeah,
back and
yeah.
forth between the two. It's not, this one is not so much a martial arts movie, although
Right.
there is martial arts in like many, many places in the film.
Right. And then that's the quality of the action. But actually, if you rewatch Blade, well, I rewatched Blade, and I was surprised to realize that like there's not as much action as I remember it to be. I mean, the movie's very intense, or like it keeps a good pace throughout,
Yeah.
but there's long bouts of no action.
Hmm.
A lot of story, a lot of character dialogue, which is fine. But it's like you have the opening fight sequence, and then not another fight for like almost an hour into the movie.
Yeah. Well,
So
they have to kind of like explain the world to the
yeah.
audience and whatnot. They have to set up all these characters, which the pacing is really good. But then for me on this rewatch, I noticed that the second half of the movie started to drag. And I
Yeah.
realized that at the like when we get to the blood temple at the end of the movie, like when we first arrive, I thought maybe there was only 10 minutes left, but there's actually 30 minutes left of the
Yeah.
movie. And like I don't remember, I thought the movie ended a lot quicker, but you're in that blood temple for a
Hmm.
while. It takes a while for the action to get back in there. And so like the pacing of the end of the movie is a little strange. It's a little weird because I thought that when he infiltrates like their lair towards the end with the
Hmm.
motorcycle and he's killing the guys through the glass and then the water, I thought that was connected to the blood temple, but it's actually like a completely different scene. And that's like a small action moment
Yeah.
that stops, and then
Hmm.
we have to go to the
And
blood
it
temple,
restarts again.
and then we have to go into the setup of everything that's happening with the finale. I was like, oh wow, the pacing is just all over the place in the end. Still a good movie, but yeah, I didn't remember that pacing being so weird the first time.
Yeah, and then we'll obviously cover more about that in the when we go deeper into the action. I think that like I have a lot more to say about the action, but
Sure,
we have
sure.
two other movies to want to talk about more and more generalities. So let's talk about Blade 2.
Hmm.
Blade 2 ups the action. But I think one thing that suffers with this movie is the story. I actually really did. I never liked this story,
Oh,
and
interesting. Okay.
I always found this story to be so stupid on paper. It is. What is the story, Zero? The story is it's a new vampire virus is out in the open. There's a man. The character's name is Nomak, played by what's his name, Luke Gloss. Nomak is the villain, and he's like a super vampire. So and it's so dumb. He feeds on other vampires and turns them to also into super vampires.
Hmm.
And basically now the vampires are teaming up with Blade so that they can fight the super vampire. I'm like, that is
Yeah.
the dumbest story I've ever
No,
heard.
no, it's
That is so
good
stupid. Like,
because what the danger of the sequel is just doing the same story again. What's he gonna do? He's gonna fight the vampires again, right? So you gotta turn it on its head. He has to team up with the enemy, right?
right, right, right.
And because of a more powerful vampire now. Like
Mhm.
I like this story actually. Like
Really?
it's it's not Shakespeare. It's in service of getting Blade to be in a dick measuring contest with Ron
Mhm.
Perlman,
Mm.
essentially.
Hellboy, yeah. It's Blade versus Hellboy in this
Yeah,
movie,
and
kind
so
of.
this movie is directed by Guillermo del Toro, Oscar
Yeah.
winner Guillermo del Toro, still written by David S. Goyer, who also wrote the first movie. And
Hmm.
so I think this is a sequel in that it tries to one up a lot of the things that happened in the first movie. I think
Hmm.
story wise, it's an interesting departure, but I never feel we expand on the vampire lore or world building any differently because
Hmm.
something that happens with the plot of this movie is that Blade teams up with a team of vampires because they need to take down this new Reaper virus, which you mentioned, which is the next evolution of vampirism. And so they need to go to another nightclub to, look for this new vampire. And one of the characters says to Blade, "You're gonna see things that like you've never seen before because you're going deep into our world." And I thought, oh, this is going to be a great opportunity to expand the universe, elaborate a little more on the world building that they set up with the first movie.
Yep.
And all they do is have another club scene, and
That's not as epic. It's
it's
not
not
as
as
epic.
epic. And then you just see vampires who are into self mutilation and body mutilation, and
Yeah.
that's the extent of it. They don't expand on the world anymore. It's kind of a shame. Like I feel like they were anticipating something like even more interesting stuff going on, and no, that's it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, with all that said, right? Trying to expand the universe or that these characters live in. I think having wow, I can never pronounce his name. Guillermo del Toro, helming the directing role. His visual style. I feel like in all his movies, like it's very distinct. Like,
Very distinct.
especially when it comes to practical effects. And that one thing I like about this movie. I mean, I don't dislike this movie at all. I just never liked the story, but the practical effects. It's like, oh, that's him. Del Toro's style.
He loves his monster designs, going really intricate with the man in suit stuff. And
yeah.
man, this is 2002, I believe. Like with maybe like a few glaring exceptions, like the CGI still looks pretty good. They know how to use it sparingly because the new vampire strain, the Reaper vampires, basically the jaw kind of cuts in half the bottom and it opens like the predator mandible.
Yeah.
And so it looks awesome, and when they show it, like it's CGI, but it looks good. Like it surprisingly looks really good. So like I'm just surprised, like a 2002 movie with the CGI. I was like, oh man, they did it good, because then they also incorporate the practical effects as well to like kind of go back and forth.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the practical effects inclusion in there, just being spliced in there in some shots into the film, like really add a lot to it. And Del Toro's, visual, like it's not just the fact that he has a very distinct look to his monster effects and his practical effects, but like there's certain key scenes that just like add to the atmosphere, right? Like to kind of sell the believability, if you will, right? Like the whole autopsy scene, like you didn't need that, but they really go into it. It's like here's this part that protects this chest cavity from any harm, and it like really goes into like all the little nooks and crannies of like what makes these monsters tick. It's like it's very detailed, and it like adds a lot of believability, quote unquote believability, into it, right? So I still really appreciate the movie from a more visual standpoint. Never really been a fan of the story though. I think this is where the movie kind of like it's almost like the complete inverse of the first movie. So I like both movies for different reasons. This one's weirdly enough has more action, has a lot more action,
It has a lot more action. Yep.
but I don't like the action.
Yeah, it's interesting. So this movie, Blade 2, was action choreographed or fight choreographed by Donnie Yen, who is also one of the characters in the movie who is part of a team of vampires who was essentially created to fight Blade, but now they're teaming up together. So Donnie Yen is one of those characters, and Donnie Yen is also the fight coordinator. This movie feels like it really wants to be a martial arts movie, and the editor, the American editor or whomever, is really cutting up those scenes, because I think like just American editors just don't like letting martial arts fight scenes breathe.
Yeah. Again, there's moments where it's like, whoa, that was good. That lasted. Oh, and then now it's edited to shit again. It's like, why? Why? There's quite literally moments where I can spot where it's like, oh, that was a oneer. That was clearly a oneer. But then whatever happened, maybe the studio came in muddled with it, because I think Del Toro himself said that like the studio came in and interfered somewhat with the final cut. Came in and was like, oh no, you gotta throw in some insert shots in there, and it's like but I was like, oh come on, like you can clearly tell that like Wesley Snipes is just barreling down this hallway and to get to his sword. But like interweaved in between all that is some really good choreography, or at least decent choreography.
Yeah.
So like this is a movie where I feel like the editing kind of ruins the action, but at the same time, like I didn't
But
really find the
But it
yeah.
all works though, because once you see the style of the editing, you realize, okay, that's just gonna be like that throughout. There's nothing you
Mm.
can do about it, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's a shame. It's a
Yeah.
shame. There's a lot of fighting in this. Almost always. Well, I mean, not just fighting, but just a lot of action throughout the whole movie.
Hmm.
So yeah, again, we'll talk about that more in more
Right. I
detail
mean,
too.
it's
But
very I mean, like the first movie, it is very heavy with the gun work, the
mhm.
gunplay stuff, because that's part of his weaponry. Then he uses the blade, as he always does, and then lots of times he engages in hand-to-hand combat, which is fun because it's different.
Yeah.
But so I will say, one of the things that kind of takes me out of parts of the fight scenes is the use of CGI body
Oh,
doubles.
sure. Yeah, yeah. They
And
use a lot of that here.
yeah, it's weird because, like, Del Toro was really, I feel like he's really embracing the comic book nature of it. And where the first one, you can see how Wesley Snipes and other vampires have extraordinary abilities because their strength is obviously more increased than the average human. And here they really wanted to show that, and they wanted to show that in camera, but by not cutting away from it, they have to use CGI body doubles a lot.
Yeah.
And that's where it's a shame, because the CGI is still not, while I praise the CGI for like the monster effects, having the entire human be a CGI double,
Yeah.
it turns into a video game scene, unfortunately.
Yep. PS2, like
Yeah.
PS2 rendered graphics look.
They do their best not to hone in on it too much, but there's a few times in certain fight scenes where you're like, ah, crap, it just, it turns into that CG person. You can, like, when you're watching it, you just kind of have to forgive it. Like, we have eyes for that stuff, so we spot
Yep.
it. Some people
Mhm.
might not, but it's there. And that was the kind of stuff I feel like I think they could have pulled it off practically in camera.
Mhm.
Like,
Sure.
but I think CGI was a toy at the time that people got excited for, and there are some good CGI moments in the movie where they kind of extenuate the action, but I didn't want it for the fight scenes.
Yeah, yeah. To add on that, I don't think that I mean, obviously the look, the final renders that we have in the movie are like they're distracting, but I've looked past it, remembering what the timing of the movie was, right? Or early 2000s. I think I was more distracted with like the speed of which they're moving. It's like it just feels very unnatural, right? Like as
Mhm.
someone who's didn't even get very far into like being a 3D animator, right? But like anyone can tell you from as a early 3D animation, like you need to have appropriate weight
Yep.
to like actual like jumping mechanics, jumping physics, right? Like if something lobs up, they come down. Acceleration, obey the laws of physics, right? There's a couple scenes in this movie where they're so reliant on CG, where it's like someone jumps up and there's no acceleration to just go up and down. It's just like a linear pattern, right?
Yeah.
And it's like littered throughout the movie, and it's like moments like that where I feel like that's just more like an actual like animation problem versus actual the software or the hardware that we had at the time.
Sure. Hmm.
So that's just one thing I had with one issue I had among many that I had with Blade 2. But so I guess we could solve some of that in Blade 3, huh? Right, Blade Trinity. You're our favorite.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah.
I loved it so much. I tried to watch it and I fell asleep.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
I've seen this movie before. Like, I've
Hmm.
this has a very, very bad reputation. So if people don't know, Wesley Snipes was sent to, was it prison? Yeah,
Yeah,
prison or jail.
2008
Yeah,
was when he went to
he
prison.
went to
But like I think
prison
this is
for
uh
tax
he
evasion.
Yeah. Wow, there's actually people that like might not have been alive for when this
Yeah.
happened. Yeah,
So
like
the act
there's that. Yeah, you're saying. You're
so
saying.
the actor had to go to prison, and before going to prison, he had to film this movie. So
Yeah.
I'm sure he didn't fucking care about this movie, despite this being an IP, despite being this character that he has fostered for the last two films. I'm sure he had different things on his mind. I'm saying that to throw him a bone because a lot of people kind of dunk on him for like the bad acting and then like all the behind the scenes shenanigans that happen that people kind of poke fun at. Um, but he was going to prison. I probably wouldn't be the best of people to work with if that was happening to me.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess to not turn this into like a full like discussion about like the behind the scenes drama, because I actually think that if anyone's interested in that, we might cover a couple of things here and there. But like if you want a full story, it's kind of become a little bit of a he said she said kind of scenario,
Yeah.
right? It's basically it's Wesley Snipes versus the entire cast and crew. So you can make your own story here, make your own conclusions here. But like everyone was saying, like, oh yeah, Wesley Snipes was so hard to work with. And then on the other flip side is Wesley Snipes, like, he did say that like I'm the only black man on staff. Like it's like very, it's very hard to work, and not feel like demoralized in some way or another. So you can draw your own conclusions based off of what you heard, but whatever. Apparently, I didn't watch it. Blade. They made amends because Wesley Snipes was in that last Deadpool movie that I didn't watch. So
Well, I don't know if he made
I don't know.
amends with the director, who this time for Trinity is David S. Goyer, who was the writer of the first two movies,
Mm.
now taking on double duties as the writer and the
Oh my
director.
god.
And oh boy.
Oh my
So if you didn't
god.
like the writing of the second movie, the writing of this movie is very well, it's not good.
Okay,
And
so
David S. Goyer is not a visionary director. So when you
oh,
have somebody who has no visual style and you have a bad script, then what are you left with? You're just left with a bad movie.
so let's rewind back and give a little context between the couple of movies, right? The first Blade movie, yes, David S. Gore was a writer on that, but according to David Fincher, he actually had some involvement in helping David S. Goyer, like with the script,
Oh,
right? Like
interesting. Okay.
an early pass on it,
Mhm.
right? That's like whether Goyer, like actually like fine tune the final version on his own. Like you can say that David Fincher himself had a lot of say into that. He'd just be like, no, this needs to go in the chopping block, whatever. Refine your script, because I'm fucking David Fincher, right? Second one, Guillermo del Toro. He just straight up said he didn't like the script. Guillermo del Toro does not like the second movie at all. He does not like Blade 2.
Interesting.
For
Okay.
many for multiple reasons. Like he didn't like the visuals, he didn't like the final cuts that studios meddled with.
Yeah.
But he definitely didn't like this. He didn't like working with David S. Goyer.
Okay.
And as
Interesting.
someone who doesn't like the second movie, I'm like, I kind of agree. And then here we have
You have
a movie
you have that writer taking over the third film.
Yeah. All right. So I don't have to say any more about that. I just don't like Blade Trinity, as do most people. But I will say, I think my biggest sin with Blade Trinity is that it is so fucking boring. It is so lifeless as a movie.
So I mentioned for the second movie that it doesn't feel like they expanded the world building too much. It's still vampires are somewhat secret, but in the third movie, it seems like people are becoming more aware of vampirism. Like they're talking about it in the news.
Yeah.
People know more about Blade now. So things are kind of out of the shadows and a little bit out of the box, but nobody is like in full belief that these mythical creatures and this mythical creature hunter actually exist. So there's this weird balance between that because you'll have a scene with Blade and then the main antagonist running through the streets and everyone's just like, "What? Okay,
Hmm.
sure, why not?" Like people are like Blade and friends are walking around daytime. They have their weapons out and everyone's just like, "Yeah, whatever. Sure.
Yeah.
Why not?"
Yeah. That's something that I wanted to touch on, right? Actually, since I didn't like Blade 2, Yeah, like I didn't like the Blade 2 on paper, but I do think that like as a overall watch, like it's fine, right? Like the story is dumb, but like at the final execution, no, it's not the worst. But then Blade 3 is the opposite. I actually like the premise, and like the premise is great. Blade, okay, so the movie starts off. Blade is captured. He's broadcast on television, like you said. He like the whole world knows about him, and everyone thinks that he's delusional because they don't think vampires exist.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, and like, and then they kill Whistler again.
Again.
They kill him again, and like, it's
Chris
not epic anymore because it's
Christopherson,
just
they
stupid.
kill him
Yes.
again. It's so
What a wasted role,
it's
by the
so
way.
weird because it's strange. Like it almost feels like they killed him because like the actor needed to maybe like had scheduling conflicts or whatnot because it feels
Mm,
very abrupt when he
yeah,
dies in the beginning of the movie. But then he comes back later in the movie
yeah.
because the main antagonist shape shifts into him to kind of fuck with the other characters. And then I realized, like, oh, maybe it wasn't a scheduling conflict. I think maybe they just wrote him out, but they wanted to keep the actor around. It's very strange choice.
So strange.
So
Yeah,
strange.
it literally could have been any other character. Actually, it being Whistler made very little sense. But yeah, it's really Chris Christopherson and Wesley Snipes who are just like completely lifeless throughout the whole movie. Like the few scenes that Chris Christopherson is in, he's like, "Oh, Blade, what they're doing to you is so terrible. Oh, you're like a son to me." Like
Like
literally
literally,
that
he
kind
has
of
to say
energy.
it. Yeah.
It's so awkward and embarrassing.
Well, it
But yeah,
it
he gets
sucks because they were, they were kind of the bonds that kind of was the strong character connection with the first two movies. They
yeah,
were in it together. They had a few companions along the way, but it was always them two who like made it out alive. Well, I mean, not
yeah.
the first movie, but second movie he's resurrected. But they made it to the end. They did their best. It was always Blade and it was Whistler, and then the
Yeah.
movie they tried to do something different by killing off Whistler, but then introducing Whistler's daughter from out of
Jessica Alba.
which is
Jessica
Jessica Alba.
Jessica Jessica
Jessica
Alba.
Biel.
No, so that's an in joke because the movie poster had to get pulled because they accidentally wrote Jessica Alba instead of Jessica Biel. Yeah.
Oh my
So
god, that's great.
Jessica Alba is in the movie.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. So Jessica Biel, who plays Whistler's daughter out of wedlock as a new vampire hunter, and Ryan Reynolds, a
Hmm.
young Ryan Reynolds, who is doing a prototype for his
Yeah.
Deadpool
Oh
character.
my god. Oh my god.
It's
Yeah. It's so
it's
insufferable.
pretty insufferable. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of his in your face, quote unquote, edgy sex humor does not land. A lot of
No.
those jokes are pretty bad. You can see the pause for potential laughter, and then he tries to backpedal because he's not even sure if those jokes land either.
Yeah, I mean, again, with all the behind the scenes, whatever drama that was happening, it's really just Ryan Reynolds kind of trying to make the best of the situation, trying to get on Wesley Snipes' good side, maybe trying to get him to crack a smile. But every time he tells a joke, you can just see Wesley Snipes just getting angrier. Because I mean, to be fair, and I'm not picking sides here, the Blade movies, I mean, there's few moments of levity, but they are, set in the Blade universe. It's supposed to be a little bit more on the dour side.
Mhm.
So it's like I really hated Ryan Reynolds' character. He's like he
Yeah,
completely clashes with this universe that we've set up.
definitely.
Um,
Yeah, he's so
leave
out
him
of
for
place.
Deadpool.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. So I really, yeah, I think Ryan Reynolds is actually the thing that kills this movie more than Wesley Snipes. Like Wesley Snipes is boring and his acting is just non-existent in the movie, but Ryan Reynolds is just every scene he's in is just like, oh my god, what shitty joke is he gonna tell now?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It's weird because so Ryan Reynolds is trying really hard to be funny, and a lot of his humor isn't landing. But then there's a lot of unintentional humor with what's her name, Parker Posey. Like
yeah,
she's overacting, but like in a bad way. And so like her scenes are great because I think it feels like she doesn't want to be there. She doesn't really remember her lines, so she's just kind of reading off of a card in the background. It seems
Yeah.
like maybe the fangs are causing difficulty with her speech as well. And
Hmm.
then you have Triple H, the
Yep.
wrestler who's in this, just there to be big buff vampire guy, which is
Yeah.
weird because it would seem like okay, he's the biggest guy there. Maybe he's the final boss, but no, they decided to save the most famous vampire for the final Blade movie. And what did they
Hmm.
do? They brought back Dracula. I mean, maybe brought back is not the correct word. They
They brought it
technically
back.
they
Yeah.
technically wake up Dracula who's been slumbering. He's been asleep
Hmm.
the whole series. They wake him up. Um and they decide to call him Drake. Like why not? Why not Dracula? Dracula is such an
Yeah.
iconic name. It's an iconic character that and then they simplify it down to Drake.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
Drake the rapper is in this movie, and then he fights Kendrick Lamar in the movie.
oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yeah. So no, I mean, yeah, that needs to be a new term, right? You know how they say jumping the shark?
Mhm.
This brought back the Dracula. This is like that. This is what this is. It's kind of stupid on paper. I mean, it's not kind of. It is really stupid because it's just like, oh, really? Yeah, bring Dracula into this now.
I think that makes
Um,
sense because they need a formidable villain, right? You know, the first two movies, it's like, okay, regular
y-
vampire. Second movie, new vampire
sure.
stream. Third movie, it's like Dracula. That makes sense, but there is nothing intimidating about this character.
Yes, yes, yeah. Nothing. He's also nothing special. He's essentially just another daywalker. I mean, he's the original vampire, right?
Yeah.
According to this movie. So he's another daywalker. I was like, all right, so but what else is special about besides his shape-shifting power, which he doesn't really utilize too much? If it was like more of like a movie that like gets into your head, right? Like Dracula could be anybody, and it's like it turns into the thing. It's like something like that, like like we're really utilizing Dracula's powers, it's like to a full extent, like that would have been awesome. No, he's pretty much just a generic vampire, and
He
there's nothing to
in
him.
his original form, he's got like a lot of elaborate makeup and like kind of like a demon slash vampire look to him, but obviously
Yep.
they can't keep that actor in that makeup all the time, so he becomes a normal actor, and then like you
Yep.
said, he shapeshifts. And
Yeah.
oh boy, yeah, this script, it's so bland. They give
Yeah.
Dracula like nothing
Nothing.
to work with.
Nothing.
Like I like I I can't really I feel like I can't fault a lot of these people for like the bad acting or like the dialogue because it's just a bad script. There's nothing there. I
Hmm.
bet Ryan Reynolds stuff, despite the fact that I hate everything he's saying, I bet he had nothing to work with and he was just ad
Yeah.
libbing everything. So he's just like, all right, well,
Yeah.
let me just try to be funny because my lines of dialogue mean nothing. Like they bring
Yeah.
nothing. So, like, I commend him for trying, but it was a spectacular failure on his
Yeah,
part.
I don't know if there's any blame game to be here to play here. It's just a mishmash of all the wrong cards being played at once. David S. Goyer's this is his first directing debut for a major motion picture, so and it shows. As I think that's what it really comes down to. If there's like any major culprit here, the movie feels very directionless, and it feels like it like just uh, like you're trying to herd cats, right? Like there's just too many things happening, and there's no shepherd to
Mhm.
like keep it all in place. And yeah, like any semblance of anything good, it feels like it's just a leftover from the previous movies. Like the design of Dracula's true form, I think that was a leftover from Guillermo del Toro's
Oh, they
designs.
definitely copped the
Yeah,
open mandible mouth again.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep,
Um,
yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
but
you can see like he was trying to add a little bit of style, but he's not a director. He doesn't know what he's doing. He didn't know how
yeah,
to work with the cinematographer to get a distinctive look because it's
yeah.
so bland. Like this movie is just not interesting to look at.
Yeah. Well, I can talk shit about this all day, but But I actually don't have a lot to say about the action. It's also in the same kind of category.
They
Also generic.
This feels like they really treated action secondary, and
Hmm.
it shows with one particular scene in the middle of the movie because they make an action montage. They
Hmm.
literally have fight scenes scrolling past, like in sort of like a comic book format, because they didn't care about
Hmm.
martial arts or fight choreography. They're just like, okay, people are fighting. Let's show it in like these panels whizzing by or like scrolling up and down. Like that's how much they cared about action in this because they didn't. And the action in this film is all backloaded. It's all
Yeah.
essentially at the end of the movie.
Right. So one thing that stands out about this film is where the other movies, even if they have side characters, whether it be, the Nissa character in the second one or whatever, there's other characters that fight with or fighting alongside Blade. They're they get their moment, but then at the end of the day, it's Blade versus the final bad guy, right? It's
Yeah.
just one versus many, and then there's the final big boss that he fights, right? Uh, for varying degrees of effectiveness. Whereas this one, it's like it's Blade and his friends versus the villain. It's like, and it's just like it's not as cathartic. It's not as interesting because because I guess they're trying to set up that like this villain is so powerful that he needs help. I'm like, oh, that sucks. I don't want Blade to need help. I
Well,
want him to
that's
win on
that's
his own
I feel
merits.
like that's not what happens though with the third movie. It is really Blade fighting Dracula just one on one. The problem is they have to keep
Until he needs help. Until he needs help.
well, with the exception of how they finally defeat Dracula. But
Yeah, sure, sure.
the entire fight is Blade taking down, many bad guys as he does in the other movies, and then he has a one-on-one with the final villain. And that is indeed what it is. It's is Blade fighting Dracula by himself. The problem is we have to cut to what Ryan Reynolds is doing, and then
Yep.
we have to cut to what Jessica Albiel is doing. And
Albiel.
they give Jessica Biel a little too much choreography.
Yeah.
And I don't want to
Mhm.
be too harsh on her because she's not known for doing action roles at all. And
Mhm.
you can see that she did not have a lot of probably prior training, like on screen fight training. Like she looks very stiff. You can see her like kind of wincing when people are coming at her. And so
Yep.
there's not a confidence there in how she was probably trained to fight in these action scenes, and they give her actually a decent
Too
amount of
much.
fighting at
Too
the end, and
much.
so they should have focused more on Ryan Reynolds.
Mhm.
But Ryan Reynolds is fighting Triple H, and
It's just a wrestling
it's just a
match.
wrestling
That's all
match.
it
Yeah,
is. Yeah, and like if I want to watch WWE or WWF at the time, just turn that on, and then I could watch, I don't know, Stone Cold Steve Austin fight Vince McMahon. I don't know, wrestling terms. Yeah, but like I'm like I don't want to watch this. I just want to watch a good fight between Wesley Snipes and a decent a formidable opponent. And also Dracula. It's just, I gotta say, the wardrobe they chose for him is so stupid.
it looks
Like
kind of
for,
douchey.
well, I mean, it feels like they skipped out on the costume department because Wesley Snipes is wearing this. Like he looks like he's just wearing like like a suit and vest that he got from like a collar shirt and a
It's a different variant from uh the like armored vest that he has
yeah,
from the first and second movie. It just looks cheaper. Yeah.
cheap, yeah. And then we have Dracula, who has like, he just looks like a gladiator because he has this big like
Well, he's
buckle
he's
over his
wearing
shoulder.
like regular civilian clothes, but then he has one arm that has
The
like
shoulder plate.
knight's armor on it.
Yeah.
It
It's like it's just so feels so awkward. Like, what is this? What am I
they
looking at?
had nothing. They did not know what to do with this. It's
Yeah.
awful. It looks
Yeah.
awful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are the movies on a general standpoint.
Yeah.
but there's so much more action we could talk about,
There
Zero, right?
is. There's actually a lot more we are going to talk about. I think we
Yeah.
could probably go maybe a little bit into some of the stories as we connect the dots between the action scenes. So if you want to continue listening to us talk about the Blade trilogy, not the TV series or the anime, then consider subscribing to us on Patreon, because there you're going to hear probably maybe an additional hour's worth of conversation as
Oh
we
God.
go a little more into detail about the action scenes in the 3 Blade movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely listen to us and don't watch Blade Trinity. So, all right, with that said, let's talk about Blade, the trilogy. Hey guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. We're at the point where we give our recommendations, but there's a whole wealth of audio you would be listening to here if you follow us on Patreon. There you can listen to the entire episode, including an exclusive action breakdown of the fights in the movie. And now on to our final thoughts. Like this is our works of fiction. We can just consider this a duology and pretend Trinity never happened, and it's whatever.
But
Who
also
cares?
the TV series with Sticky Fingers, I guess that never happened. I heard the anime's not bad. I would like to watch it.
I don't know. And then, well, everything going forward now is all MCU.
It's all
so
MCU.
I'm not watching.
It's supposed to. They were supposed to do a Blade movie, I think 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they also. I saw some trailer or teaser recently of a new Blade.
It's probably for the
Yeah.
video game.
Maybe. Oh, that's what it was. Yes, yes. So Blade's still, living large, and ever since his little Wesley Snipes reprised his role in Deadpool, like I think the interest in the characters revitalized somewhat.
I'll be cynical and say that it's not the interest in the character. It's they need a win, right? Marvel needs something that has a built-in fan base, and Blade
Sure.
1 and 2 have the built-in fan base, right?
Yeah.
So like rebooting it, like
yeah.
that's a safe IP to reboot, because they know people
Sure.
want to see Blade. That's like my
Yeah.
cynical take on it. And they keep on
Sure.
fucking it up. So
I will 100% agree with you, although I am not much of a Marvel fan or comic book fan anymore, of movies. I guess we're officially out of the Patreon section now. So those
We
are the
are, yeah.
Blade movies. Yeah. Yeah, so we were just saying, the Marvel movies nowadays, like I have no interest in going forward with those movies. I'm part of that crowd. But going backwards, it's like, okay, I didn't mind revisiting those movies. It's not just my bias that like I am a martial arts head. I love martial arts movies. I love fight scenes, and I always wanted to cover Wesley Snipes. Like these movies they still feel untainted by like that genericness of comic book movies that we have now. I mean, well, that eventually became comic book movies.
The first 2 movies feel like they had original ideas. They got to elaborate on them. The second one, we know there's studio meddling, but they got a director who has a style. He's got a vision, which is Guillermo del Toro, obviously. And so like that movie is his movie, despite the fact that, there's meddling. And then the third movie, it's
what
a train
third
wreck.
movie?
There's no third movie.
There's no third movie.
No third movie with Jessica Alba in it. But yeah, I mean, first 2 Blade movies, obviously, it's a mandatory watch if you've never seen them. It's we didn't mention, because we are covering it for Halloween month. They're not scary, but they are in the realm of horror. Yeah. They're good action horror movies.
Right. I think original pitches were to make these action comedies. And that's kind of what Blade Trinity at times veers into, because that movie is just fucking, one actor just kind of like, makes it turn into one. And it's like, oh, fucking. All right. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have to say anything more negative about Blade Trinity. That is no secret that movie's terrible. One last thing I'll add to that, though, is that it's not so bad it's good. So anyone who's like, oh, let me just watch that out of curiosity, is like, no, it's just boring. It's a boring movie, and there's not a lot of redeeming factors to it. Yeah, like actually, in preparation for this episode, I tried my hardest to watch it in one sitting. I just kept falling asleep. It's not interesting. Yeah, it's not a good movie. But
It's
yeah,
pretty
the first
bland. I
yeah.
think there are some decent, ch- funny, like so bad it's good moments scattered throughout. Like,
Hmm.
but yeah, not a good movie.
Yeah, no, not at all. But yeah, the first two movies, they still hold up. You have to obviously look past the dated some, elements are here and there, but yeah, good movies all in all. I love the style. I love the like the hidden influences that's had on other movies, right? And we mentioned The Matrix already, so it's like it's still these are still like guilty, not guilty, but they're still like enjoyable watches. Yeah, definitely go watch them. Obviously, if you haven't watched it, what the hell's wrong with you? Go watch Blade and Blade Two,
And Blade 2, and
and
nothing else.
nothing else. No, yeah, those are the only
Yeah, you can
movies.
stop.
Oh no, you can watch Stephen Norrington's other movies, the director of the first movie, such as The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh.
And then that's what ended his directing career.
Oh boy, I actually haven't seen it, so maybe
Oh.
I won't watch it.